I talked to Chris Anthony. I talked to Chris McCammon. And I sat in Gamma, but I didn't go for a ride. In this episode, I'll explain why and share my experience visiting Aptera's headquarters. Hi, this is Bill. Welcome to Chasing Aptera. In this series, I explain why I decided to invest in Aptera, the company, why I reserved an Aptera Launch Edition, the vehicle, and the trials and tribulations of getting this unique vehicle licensed, insured, and transported from California, where it's manufactured, to my home in Georgia, a drive of over 2,000 miles. On January 27th, the Electric Vehicle Association held its annual meeting at Aptera's headquarters in Carlsbad, California. Since I'm a member, I thought this would be a great opportunity to see Aptera up close, so my wife and I booked a flight, reserved a Tesla Model Y, and away we went. If you don't know, the Electric Vehicle Association is North America's leading volunteer organization promoting the adoption of electric vehicles by supporting its 100 chapters and thousands of members as they educate their communities about the benefits of driving electric. If you'd like to learn more about the association, you can find a link to their website below. Full disclosure, the Electric Vehicle Association is not a sponsor of this channel. Aptera co-CEO Chris Anthony was very accessible during this event, gave the keynote address, and answered many questions. Here are some highlights. Here, Chris talks about the Aptera's design and crash testing.
We wanted to show you a little bit about how the vehicle is coming together from an architecture perspective, an engineering perspective. We've been doing a lot of this work in Italy. It's our carbon fiber SMC chassis, how the parts come together. An interesting thing is we only use 6 major parts for a body structure. So there's a tub, there's a top, there's 2 sides, and some liner pieces, and that's the whole body structure for this vehicle. When we last tested this vehicle through FMVSS crash test, we had the highest roof crush strength of any passenger car on the road, and it's only gotten better with our work in Italy. So it's a fabulous piece of engineering to see all these things come together. And this, what you see on the screen, will arrive here in just a couple months so we can finish up our first production intent builds and be able to drive people around in what is a fabulous new entry. The carbon fiber SMC that we use is a very interesting material. It's stamp pressed. Imagine like a waffle iron that you put in a glob of thermoset resin and carbon fiber into, and then you close the waffle iron, and you wait 8 minutes, and when you open the waffle iron, you've got beautiful Aptera parts. That's essentially how these parts are made. But they're carbon fiber, they're super strong, and this material is used in a lot of pretty amazing supercars, so it's really cool to see our vehicle like that. This is what it looks like. And we'll hand it around so everybody can touch and feel and see what carbon fiber SMC goodness is. But an important thing to note in that particular piece is with this process, we get a part that's really akin to an injection molded part. So you can have embedded fasteners, so you don't have to like glue on a stud or glue on a nut. It's just made in the part. Also has a lot of features, so you can have little landing features, like this is where the HVAC sets the air handler box that blows the AC on you. You can have little landing feet, you can have locating features. You can even have like scribe lines for bonding. When you need to bond 2 pieces together, you can make it in the part. So just a really amazing process. And before this, we had a very hand-laid process. So people would have to hand-lay composite material in the mold. It took a long time. And I had a boat company. We built a lot of boats, but it took a lot of space and a lot of people. So we have over 46,000 orders for the Aptera now. So we need to build them in mass. People haven't even seen a production vehicle yet, so we're sure that our orders will take off once we have a production vehicle. So we couldn't do something that's going to take hundreds and hundreds of thousands of square feet. We can make up to 100,000 Aptera a year in about 30,000 square feet of space over in Italy. So it's really space constrained, and that's with 6 operators. So 6 people managing the whole plant, making body structures for 100,000 vehicles a year. So it's much different than my boat plant where we had hundreds of people and hundreds of thousands of square feet.
Chris also talked about the partnership with CTNS in Korea and CPC in Italy and Aptera's strategy to bring manufacturing to Carlsbad. Then he went into detail on the battery packs.
I also recently got back from a trip to Korea. I had some pretty amazing food, and they like to torture the white guy with whiskey and beer, so I definitely had some adventurous nights out. But we just signed a battery arrangement with a company called CT&S there, and they will be building the robotics line to have a fully automated battery pack line in Korea, where we'll build our first couple hundred battery packs, and then we'll ship all that equipment here to the US, and then we'll be building battery packs right here in Carlsbad, California. That's the same game we're playing with CTC. We want to build the body parts in Italy to start, and then we want to bring that equipment over to the US so we can have jobs here in the US to build those things, and so we can have the parts located closer so we don't get caught in a long supply chain way overseas. CT&S built some of our first battery modules. This is an example of one of the battery modules flipped upside down. Let's raise that up. Our battery modules are cooled by base plate cooling. We use 2170 cells, which we'll pass around too. These are the cells. If you drove a Tesla Model Y or a Model 3 here, likely it has a 2170 NMC cell in here. It's a lot like a AA battery on the batter. But that's what we populate our modules with, and it takes 6 of these modules to make one Aptera battery pack.
How many cells are in
Good question. There's 2,900 in the whole pack. The math is above me to divide it by 6, but but if you haven't ever held a cell that's in your Tesla, this is what they are. In your Tesla, they have like 3 times as many cells as we do, but about 9,000, 10,000 cells.
chemistry?
Nickel, metal, cobalt. So this in particular is an NMC 811 chemistry. It's a high nickel content chemistry. So it gives you really good energy density.
And then the 600 and the 1,000?
Use taller cells. Yeah.
Same.
So a great thing, we've been working with Sandy Monroe and Monroe and Associates to really optimize our pack and all of our manufacturing. But they advised us, don't design 4 distinct packs for your 250 mile, 400 mile, 600 mile, 1,000 mile. Design one pack, and then if you can use a different size cell for those packs, it makes everything much easier. So we use a 70 millimeter tall cell here for the 400 mile range version. We just take some of the cells out for the 250 mile range version. And for the 600 and 1,000 mile range version, we use taller cells. So the cells that are going around are 70 millimeters tall. We go to a 90 millimeter tall, 120 millimeter tall cell. And that means we can use all the same cell brackets, we can use the same power busing, we can use the same PDU, we can use the same case structure. Everything gets harmonized and gets much easier to build in volume. You'll see over here an old current collector, but this is our new strategy. It's actually laser welded to the battery cells, and the laser is super quick. The problem with some of the early Tesla packs is they were wire bonded, and it takes a machine time to drop a wire, lift it, make a loop, drop the wire again, and weld it on. So this laser stuff is just, it's super quick. So you can bond this whole module in less than a minute, whereas it used to take 6.
How many volts are there?
Each module is 50 to 60 volts. The whole pack is 402 charge voltage, 350 ohms.
Chris then took to the factory floor and talked about why they chose to use vinyl wrap instead of paint and the technology behind their solar cells.
This is the SMC outer panel of the Aptera. So we talked about the carbon fiber SMC, and we passed around that part earlier, which was black. So that's a similar part to this, except it has carbon fiber. This is glass SMC, but this is what's on the exterior of the Aptera. And the cool thing about the Aptera is we actually got rid of all the paint on the Aptera. No part of the Aptera is painted. In a modern automotive plant, you can spend half of the capital equipment expenditures for the plant just on your paint shop. And 80% of the emissions from a modern automotive plant is just from the paint shop. So we got rid of paint. We don't paint. And good luck getting a paint shop permitted in Southern California. Not gonna happen. So, so we take panels like this and we put a vinyl coating on them. It's a wrap like you've seen Tesla does it from the factory for the Model S and X and now the Cybertruck. There are a couple other automobile manufacturers that ship from the factory with the wrap. But you'll see a lot of supercars come out, and then they have fancy wraps like the Gucci Prince or Pink, or what was the Nancat one with Dead Now? Yeah. So when you get your Aptera, you can wrap it whatever color you want, and we'll send you the cut pattern, so you can take your Aptera to a local cut shop, and they'll cut the vinyl for you, and hopefully for just a couple $100, they'll basically be able to put that vinyl sticker on your Aptera, and you can have it be whatever you want, Barbie pink, all the way to a death metal gray. I was going to maybe show you these solar cells down here next, and then talk about how they actually fit together with their solar panels. So these are solar cells. These solar cells are provided to us from a company called Maxion in the Philippines. You can see these solar cells are very flexible. It's cool that they're very flexible because it is actually a monocrystal on the top of the solar cell. 50 micron monocrystal of solar, but it's still pretty flexible. Another cool thing about it is it's an IBC cell, so there's a copper matrix on the back of the cell. I'm going to do a live demo here. I'm going to do the live demo. So, so the cool thing about having the copper matrix on the back is, one, it helps hold it together to be a little more flexible. Two, because of the copper matrix, we can not only flex it in one angle, we can flex it in two. So a lot of things like to be flexible in one plane, but if you try to flex it in two planes at once, no bueno. But because of this copper matrix, we can actually flex it about 1.5 millimeters on each corner, which is great for us. And if you break one of these solar cells, there's your light. You actually still have the cell held together in the back by the copper matrix. So if you have a crazy hailstorm, or some baseball incident or something that cracks one of your solar cells on the Aptera, the old style solar cells, as soon as you crack the monocrystal, your cell was dead. It turned into a resistor. It killed your whole panel. But these guys, this actually produces a significant amount of power. Maybe 90% of the power it originally did, even though it's broken. So very fault-tolerant kind of cell technology. We have some equipment at the end of the line down here. That big white box down there, we actually bought from SunPower, which used to build with Maxion solar cells, huge supplier of residential solar cells. We bought that machine to actually string together our solar cells here, but it electrically strings together these cells. And then we have a white robot down there. It's maybe hard to, that little white robot there, it actually picks up these strings and then puts them into an assembly like this. And then that yellow robot actually picks up this whole assembly and then puts it into a form, which is the bottom side's glass, and there's different polymer separators, and then the cells go in between it. And then it goes into that white and green machine that's behind this rack of things that Chris will run over to. But that white and green machine with the green racing stripes, woo, there you go. That's actually what forms a big panel like this. So it's through heat and pressure and vacuum, vacuums it all together, and then you end up with a big panel. And a lot like a laminated windshield in traditional automotive, once it's laminated together, it's good for life. So this is actually a production intent version of our hood, and you can see how flexible and lightweight it is. It's really amazing what they've been able to do with glass these days. You'll notice on your cell phones are really scratch resistant these days. We're using the same kind of technology here to make sure that Aptera's panels are lightweight and super scratch resistant. So.
And Aptera recently received a patent for the panels Chris was describing. Chris McCammon, Aptera's content manager, was also very accessible and took the time to answer questions. I asked Chris about the availability of OpenPilot, an autonomous driving system developed by Comma.ai, which Aptera is adopting. A number of years ago, the system was ranked #1 by Consumer Reports.
So what we're obviously focusing all our engineering resources on the launch edition, but after that, we're going to make a small Tiger team that makes the hardware for OpenPilot. And we have the connector up there, so it's all pre-ready to go, even on the earliest vehicles. So I would guess it'd probably be another quarter or so after the vehicle comes out that we'd have an official Aptera OpenPilot integration. But in the meantime, it's right to repair. You can just hook up a off-the-shelf comma device pretty soon after delivery, and it would work. So.
Open pilot.
Yeah.
What is there any kind of cruise control?
It'll be just like basic cruise control.
Basic cruise
Yeah.
control. So it's not like you're totally driving
Right.
without any kind of.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, you still have the ultrasonic sensors for parking. You still have the backup cameras, so it's easy to navigate at low speed. Like you still have some of that.
After my last episode, GR8 DVD left a comment wanting to know whether the hatch could be kept open while driving if necessary. This is what Chris had to say.
You get a little warning that's like, trunk open,
Yeah,
but you can drive it, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also in the comments of my last episode, Bob Hellman 8676 wanted to know when crash testing would be conducted.
Yeah, it's tough to say because we're still waiting on the body and the frame from Italy. So, once those come back, we have to start making our first PI vehicles. Once those are complete, then the next phase of the first 3 are basically not crash. They're other important systems, like more important range and things like that. I think the second 3 are crash. So it's hard to give a timeline until we kind of know what we're working with their timeline. So.
Rich Rodriguez,
I love Rich Rodriguez.
who is an Aptera ambassador and has a YouTube channel called My Aptera Journey, couldn't make the event, so he sent me some questions to ask. So the steering system, you've got motors in each of the wheels.
Yeah.
So how does the steering system work?
So it's power steering. It's a mechanical linkage, so it's very traditional, like a normal vehicle where you have the push rod that tilts the wheels in either direction. So there's really nothing abnormal about the steering system. It's just like any other car. It's not like a drive-by-wire or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. A little bit about the design of the cooling system.
We're gonna be doing some videos on the cooling system in the probably next month or so. I was talking with the thermal engineer the other day actually about it. It's pretty unique. It's a little different than what we've shown before. We've had to make a lot of packaging differences to make sure it fits in the very small body, but I think people will like it. Yeah,
Okay.
You'll see that soon.
Okay. I wanted to talk to somebody about the infotainment
Yeah.
system design.
I can talk a little bit about it.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen it. I've seen the real one.
Oh, is it finalized?
It's pretty close. Yeah, like what we showed on the video, what we have upstairs is it's maybe on the video is like 70% of the design. We're probably at like 95 or something like that. It's really something else, and it's designed by a really good designer who designs other big EV infotainment systems.
Okay.
To put it that way. So we really have like the best of the best working on it. It's pretty cool, dark mode only. Everything is really easy to access, and we're hoping for eventual integration of your plugging your phone in and having things show up on the screen. So that's it's nice that it's all software upgradable. But yeah, we'll show the final one, I'm sure, at some point soon.
So windshield wiper coverage.
Yeah.
Will it cover the whole windshield or?
Well, there's one, and it kind of sweeps like this, so it's not the end of the world. The passenger probably won't get a full coverage, but it's enough coverage to have great, you can great visibility for the driver.
90%, 80%.
I don't know how to give a percent with it, but you can see it. It's only one wiper and it goes that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I know some people want more visibility for the passenger side, but to add a two wiper approach made it extremely complicated, and it's really tough to package because there's so much stuff jammed in the nose. So there's a lot of struggles in that area, how to package everything.
All right. My sincere thanks to Chris McCammon for taking the time to talk to me. Aptera was giving rides in Gamma, but because there were so many attendees, they had to limit them to 30 people. They set up a lottery, but unfortunately my wife and I weren't picked. I did talk to this gentleman, however, who got to take a ride. This is Jack Brown, and he's 6 feet 8 inches tall.
6 foot 8.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's see how you fit. I would go butt first or it's just that like the legs.
Yeah, there's been amazed by how much room there is in the passenger well. I know Nick Rocco.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
He's in.
Yeah.
We got our list, just the one list.
Thank you.
It's just a car.
Yes.
I made it.
How tall are you?
6'8".
Hey, how's it going?
And you fit.
Yeah.
Barely. You fit.
Oh, I mean, I don't look good in any car, but that's actually not a bad fit in there.
You felt pretty good?
Yeah, yeah.
You had headroom and everything?
Oh yeah, yeah. Headroom was fine. So there's like a little lip in the forward area of the door well that they said they're taking off. That was a little bit hard getting my feet over that, but otherwise it was a good fit. It was actually, it felt a little wider than my Model 3 sitting inside, so that was pretty
And
nice.
you had leg room?
Oh, tons of leg room. So it's a 36-inch inseam, size 17 foot. I can't touch the firewall.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Wow.
That will be
Yeah.
set
Wow.
Yeah.
While I didn't get to ride in an Aptera, I did get to sit in one, met some great people, and even got to spend some time at the beach. Eventually, it was time to go home, but I left feeling even more confident in my decision to invest in Aptera, and I'm looking forward to owning one of my own. In other news, Aptera filled all 2,000 slots in its Accelerator program. The program was a crowdfunding initiative that allowed reservation holders to invest in Aptera in exchange for a secured production slot of the first 2,000 solar electric vehicles off the production line. The more you invested, the sooner you would get your vehicle. The $33.86 million raised is used to buy long lead time tooling and help the company get to production more quickly. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. Please share it with anyone you think will want to watch it, and feel free to leave a comment below where you will find some interesting links. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me for future episodes of Chasing Aptera.